Yeah, tasty notes. How deep do we go with it? What shall we drink today? Little southern weather. Hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee blog. I just want to make some coffee and chit chat. Yo, so let's talk about tasting notes. What are we going to do about this little predicament? What is the predicament? Well, I've always thought about this, but I just kind of didn't say anything or didn't I just followed. I just towed the line, which is I see coffee professionals, cup the coffee, right? And a friend of mine brought it up again too, Dev, about it's an immersion brew, right? So we got the grounds in here. We're going to fill all the way to the top. We're going to let the grounds settle, or we're going to take off the grounds, but it was an immersion brew. There's no filter. So we have a concentrated, very goal-specific atmosphere for assessing the coffee and judging the coffee, right? And then we pull these very descriptive, very specific tasting descriptors or tasting notes, right? Like champagne and ferment and peanuts, things like that. And then we put it on the bag, and we can put whatever we want on this bag. And the way that this company does it, or this company, or even me, I feel like I've just been towing the line. And maybe because I'm still on the outside of this industry, I do this from home, I do this as a hobby, I don't do this as a job. I'm not in. I'm still on the out. I feel like in terms of specialty coffee and the business of specialty coffee, right? I've just been towing the line. I taste what I taste in the cup. I put on the bag. And then Byron brought up, if I don't taste what's on the bag, what's up? Or if I don't taste what's on the label, what's up, right? And I was like, yeah, that's fair, but taste is subjective. So I can't guarantee that you're going to taste what I taste, especially if I'm not a professional or whatever. But I try to toe the line and just do what monkey see, monkey do. Monkey just see and monkey just do and put on the thing. So that's basically what I've been doing, right? But I have thought about the idea of okay, this is not the typical customer experience, especially at Black City Coffee. Maybe it is for Onyx, and maybe it makes sense for them in their core and their mission and their, But for me, it's not. I don't think that's the case. A lot of my customers drink light and medium roasts. Every now and again, I get the occasional dark roasted, very dark roasted request, But I know for sure at least half are not doing this thing, are not cupping the coffee. They just want the coffee in their cup in the morning through a Keurig maybe, and they're putting cream and sugar in it. Right. Fair. Cool. So is it appropriate? Not right. Okay, I'm not going to use that word. Not bad, and I'm not going to use that word, but is it appropriate for me? Which I think is the whole point, is if you're in a position like I am, you really just got to do what's right for you. So I'm just trying to on camera figure out and document what I'm going through as a roaster who wants to have a better connection with my customers, albeit small, a very small customer base. I still want that connection to be a good one, or one that I feel is collaborative, It's not you tell me what to do per se, but it's not me telling you what it is, because you have plenty of companies to do that. I do want it to be collaborative in a way, but I also don't want to feel bulldozed in what I want to produce as a roaster, or what content I want to create. I want freedom, freedom, but I want to also be appreciated for that freedom. So I don't know if that's asking a lot. That's what we do in our that's kind of what we do in our our business right now. And I feel like it is successful, but I don't think you can treat every business exactly the same. We're going to drink a little southern weather today. Well, dealing with some weather today. It's raining. How should I feel about my own tasting notes? And whatever I feel about it and how I incorporate that into my roast philosophy or direction for Black City Coffee, how will that affect the label? And then ultimately, how will that, the ultimate is how will it affect my relationship with the customer buying my coffee? Because I want it to be a good one, like I said, right? Not too traditional, not too modern, right in the middle. Southern Weather is a blend of washed coffees. It's a blend from East Africa and Latin America, served as a refined house blend for quality cafes around the world. This coffee utilizes seasonal micro lots to recreate the same flavor profile year round. We publish transparent pricing, grade score. Okay, cool. Tasting notes. Here we go. We're talking about tasting notes for Southern Weather. Milk chocolate, plum, candied walnut. It's juicy citrus oil. Wow, okay. See, even that, right? And people buying Onyx, you're already niching down into a subset of people who really appreciate the art of roasting coffee, who really appreciate design, who appreciate, they're definitely a subset of a certain coffee drinker, which I would say is not parallel to what Black City Coffee is. That matters because, like I said, if you want to have a good connection with your customers, or one that is collaborative, if that's something that you want to do, you need to know who they are, right? So I actually find it really hard to make coffee and talk at the same time, because I always do this at like 5 in the morning when no one is around. And it's like a meditation. So to do it while talking to camera is quite odd. So there's a discrepancy, right, between cupping and then actually drinking it like I am now. So this is an AeroPress. We have a filter. It is a combination of immersion, so kind of like cupping, but then we press it through a filter under pressure, a little bit of pressure, in a certain amount of time, about 2 minutes, right? So whoa, this is a lot. This looks like a lot. Oh, I had some coffee in the chamber there. That was weird. Maybe I measured it out and I forgot. I kind of don't want to change anything. Like, it's done, please. And it's like not that serious as well. But like I said, like if you want to go deep with coffee, you can. You definitely can. I'm just going to do a 30-second little bloom here. Yeah, so why does the industry put down tasting notes during a cupping session, which is a very focused sort of way to experience the coffee, right? Like not a majority of our customers aren't going to be doing that. Without looking anything up and sort of speaking candidly and like, just like say you're here with me and we're talking about it. I wonder why that is. So is it just to make the coffee more marketable, so that we can distinctly say this one is candied walnut versus like walnut skin? I mean, that could be a very possible and I think valid, reason. But if we're trying to, have good expectations for the customer, or have a good collaborative relationship with the customer, I'm not sure that's the best way of doing it. I think it's definitely one way of doing it, and a lot of people do that. But maybe, I don't know, maybe we can do our own take on it and not just toe the line. Nothing wrong with towing the line. But maybe we can do something different. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's better, but maybe it suits the customers better. And that way, when I do make content like this, like we are speaking the same language, I think that's the most important thing. Like, I'm just speaking out loud, like trying to work through my thoughts, because this is this is how I do it. I actually make a video, I talk out loud, and I will talk myself through things that I'm thinking about. Because I think somebody smart said this, is like, oops, I forgot this. I'm not brewing this very well as I'm talking to you. Somebody really smart said that talking is thinking. You're just sort of like thinking out loud. And sometimes you can have dumb thoughts, right? So don't hang on to every word too much. We're just having a little chit chat. Okay, we're at 2 minutes-ish. So yeah, if, you know, your experience with coffee is like this, like AeroPress, it's a little bit closer, I think, in terms of like what you may be tasting, what I may be tasting in a cupping session, and then you taking it home and brewing a cup like this for yourself. It's going to be, I think, in this brew method, have a little bit more body to it. You know, not be as filtered, not be as clean in the cup. You know, it's going to have a little bit more oils, I think, in the cup, which, if we're trying to speak the same language, all I'm trying to say is that I think the AeroPress cup is a much more bodied cup. Like the way that it brews, I think it has a sweeter, more bodied viscosity or consistency. All right. And the reason why I swirl it is because, you know, after watching like a video through Lauren, she was tasting like every portion of the brew. So like the first part that comes through, the second part, and the third part, you know, because they're all a little different in terms of like extraction. So you want to give it just a good little swirl so that all those layers of brew levels, I guess, mix well. In theory, that's just what you're supposed to do. Again, towing the line. Have I actually sat there and tested it myself? No, but I'm like, hey, that makes sense to me. Yeah, so I like these little sake cups because then I could taste for you on camera pretty quickly, let it cool down pretty quickly, without waiting too much, without waiting too long. We can definitely do a test where we brew this pour over, where you have much more surface of filter contacting the coffee, and so a lot more oils will be kind of like filtered out, and you'll get a, like what they say, cleaner cup, right? A cleaner cup, meaning less sediments, less bodied, maybe more tea-like in its consistency versus this, right? So as it sits here in this little sake cup, I see the oils kind of like rising, which, you know, we just validated that with the AeroPress. You're getting a little bit closer, I think, brew, a little bit closer, brew to what I would be doing as a cupper, as I'm cupping it, because there's no filter, right? There's just absolutely no filter. So we get all the body, perhaps, and just a much more clear idea of what that coffee is. And so as I'm talking to you and sort of like thinking out loud, again, without looking things up and being too clinical about it, because I just need to choose to move forward with this idea, this concept of like, should I change my label? How do I get a better connection with the customer? I just need to choose one that's best for me. Again, I don't want to just toe the line and kind of be biased to doing something, because here at Black City, we can do whatever we want, which is sort of like analysis paralysis at this point, like, oh, too many choices, don't do anything, which I don't like that feeling. I like to discover some little challenge or issue or puzzle to solve, and then decide on something, be decisive, and then move forward. So, and because it comes from a good reason, right? That makes sense for us, for you and I, meaning me and the customer, Black City and the customer. Let's look at it like a pie chart. We have 100% idea of what's going on at the cupping table, right? At the cupping table, we have 100% idea what's going on in our assessment. And then as we maybe make a bag and then somebody takes it home and brews it on their own, whether it be AeroPress, they cup again, that's another 100%, well, potentially 100% idea of what I'm tasting as the cupper. Maybe it's pour over, maybe it's espresso, maybe it's Vietnamese coffee, whatever, right? So from that 100%, we start to sort of eat into that pie of the idea or speaking the same language about what I was tasting in the cup versus what you're tasting in the cup in your home, right? So maybe you have a good 89% of understanding what it is if we did, if you did pour over at home. Maybe that's the sort of distillation of my experience to your experience, right? And then another distillation, maybe it's a little bit better, of AeroPress. Maybe that's a little closer to what I'm doing here in the lab. Or, maybe this is like a 95% sort of idea. So you can kind of see like there's a dilution of experience between what I'm doing here and then what you're doing there in your own home. Again, what affects flavor? Your grinder, freshness, storage, brew, water temperature, batch size, right? So all these things could sort of whittle away of what my experience is here and then trying to give that to you on the other side. And while it's not always going to be 1-to-1, 100% here, 100% over there, there are ways that you could do to make sure that whatever coffee that you're drinking at home is still a 100% experience for you. And the way that you do that, typically, like what I do here is like, okay, I want to taste more, so I got a better grinder. It's good for me. I'm probably never going to upgrade this. It's good enough. So cool, I took care of that variable. Having fresh coffee, yeah, we got that pretty much covered, right? How I brew it, based on my tastes, a lot of times I like a pour over, based on the coffee that I roast, right? And if I'm dealing with coffees that are a little bit lighter and I want more punch, I've chosen to actually brew them as an AeroPress because it gives me a more bodied cup, because that's the way I want to enjoy it. So let's give these a whirl. Milk chocolate, yeah, that's an easy one, right? That's from the roast itself. Plum, yeah. Candied walnut, I don't know. Is it that sweet? It's definitely got some good acidity. Yes, plum. Tastes like a solid blend, like the blends that I have, like the Accord, kind of tastes like this. My more punchier one, like with more acidity on the back end, like something more aggressive, that would probably be my like Harlan, my espresso one, because I want it to punch through. And in espresso, I want it to be sort of strong like that. But yeah, really good. What are you gonna say? But definitely more bodied. And when I brew this, you can also affect the grind like size. So it used to be on 4, right? It's been on 4 forever. And then I cleaned it, and then I had to adjust the dial a little bit. So now I'm at like 3-notch-1. Yeah, and it's tighter, and I've been drinking a lot of Onyx coffee, and I feel like it's very light-bodied. And for me to enjoy it here at home, I just take a little bit more control. I tighten up the grind size. Maybe with my coffee, I don't need to do that because it's already punchy. It's already... the way that I roast it, it's like fast and hot and things like that. So I don't need to I don't need to make it more intense. It's already intense, you know. So I'd probably keep it at 4 and do myself a pour over and do the whole thing. But with a coffee like Onyx, which I feel is very light bodied, you know, they roast it, has a delicateness to it. Maybe not so much like their darker roast, but definitely a lot of their single origins. I just got to notch it down a little bit in terms of the grind size so that I could get a little bit more body in my cup that I prefer, and then AeroPress. And it's great. You know, good like black tea for me. A strong black tea. It's a little drying, right? Like how black tea is, in a good way. Like I like that. Yeah, Southern Weather. So they're super popular in a lot of cafes. Blend, Omni Blend, right? It's not so much do I want to change the label. It's like, I think it matters, you know, for the customer, like, is it helpful for you? I don't know. What's your take? You can leave it in the comments. Would you rather, when you're buying a bag, it doesn't have to be mine, but like say you're buying anybody's bag of coffee, how would you prefer to receive that information? Because as roasters, we can put all the cool, geeky, nerdy shit like elevation, region, things like that. And I think it's awesome. Like, I like that stuff. I guess that's where I nerd out a little bit. It's like, ooh, where's it from? You know, because then I could go deep dive and do some research on it and find out a little more about it. But I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you like a lot of info on the label, or are you just looking to get something else? Like, am I going to like it? How intense is the acidity? And it really, I know it really depends on who I'm talking to in terms of like, are these like coffee people, or are they just like coffee in the morning people? Like, give me my coffee. I don't care what it is. And then, how collaborative do I want to be in terms of my label? You know, my label was designed by my designer, and we talked about taste notes being the most important, which I agreed. You know, they don't really care where it comes from, honestly. So we've already whittled it down to putting just tasting notes, where it's from, and a little story from me, like whatever I want to say about it, you know. And it looks sort of newspapery because, you know, that's what we talked about. We wanted it to be like a printing press, you know, so it has that sort of look and vibe, to kind of play on the heraldry of the logo and the heraldry and the elegance of everything that the logo meant and what Black City means. But yeah, tasting notes. How deep do we go with it? How do we distill and communicate the most appropriate information for our particular customer base, right? I think what we do now, it matches a lot of coffee people who are like me, but not all of my customers are like me. In fact, I dare say like 60% of them are not like me, or even watching this video. So I don't know. It's interesting. Still thinking about it. But again, the goal is, how do I have a better connection, a collaborative connection with the customer? I think that matters a lot for me. And are we going to stay the same, or are we going to change it up and do something that, without looking anything up, without trying to toe the line, like we just got to make choices that are best for us, and how do we move forward with that? So that's my little puzzle that I'm going to be kind of like toying around and thinking about over the next couple of months. And then if we make a move on it, I'll let you know, and we'll talk about it and we'll document it. Because that's how I figure shit out. Okay. Thanks for having some coffee with me. Appreciate it. Maybe you're on the road or something like that. And I'm playing with this idea of like coffee podcast sort of vibe, because I like that stuff. So I don't know, just trying it out. Let's see if you guys like the sort of chit chat and having coffee and stuff like that. Yeah, good things. See you in the next one. Bye.